What happens when three players on the same team each average over 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists? Well, we don't actually know, because it's never happened before. We've seen plenty of duos pull it off. Just last season, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams did it. LeBron and Luka did it too. But a trio? I dove into 35 years of NBA data. Zero, zilch, nada. It just doesn't happen. But that might change this season. And the history-making moment could come from an unlikely source, the Toronto Raptors. Toronto has quietly been accumulating versatile players and building a unique roster. There's been much critique about the makeup of the starting lineup, but I think they have a rare chance at doing something no other team ever has, having three players surpass 25-5 averages on the same team. A 25-5 stat line isn't just about scoring, it's about being a true all-around star. Need to handle the ball, crash the boards, and make plays for others, all while putting up 20 points a night. Usually, a team might have one guy like that, two if they're lucky, but three is unheard of. And that's why what the Raptors are building is so intriguing. Each one of these guys is already flirting with that line or clearing it outright. Let's start with the Raptors' do-it-all engine, Scottie Barnes. Over the last 2 seasons, he's averaging 19.5 points, 8 rebounds, and 5.8 assists per game. That's just shy of the 25-5 threshold, but the all-around production is undeniable. Scottie is the Raptors' Swiss Army knife. He initiates the offense, defends all 5 positions, and sets the tone with his energy and versatility. Over the last 2 seasons, we've seen him grow as a vocal leader and take more initiative with the ball in his hands. Now last season, his shooting did dip, shooting just 27% from 3 and 44% from the field. But that's partly because he was carrying more of the offensive load than he ever had before. Defenses are loading up on him and he's still managing to nearly average a 25-5. All evidence suggests that Scottie is a player who excels when he's surrounded by more talent. The small change in role provided by the presence of Brandon Ingram may have a positive impact on his efficiency, as he should be getting easier looks as a secondary scoring option. If his jumper can stabilize even a little, he's a lock to clear the 25-5 threshold. More importantly though, Barnes is the glue that holds this core together. He doesn't just put up numbers for himself, he makes his teammates better. And that's exactly what gives the Raptors trio a chance to make history. Next up is Toronto's own Barrett. Since arriving in Toronto, he's looked like a more complete player than he ever did in New York. Last season, he averaged 21 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 5.4 assists on 47% shooting from the field and 35% from deep. That's more efficient than any season he had in New York, and he did it on a higher usage. He led the Raptors in scoring last year and showcased some pretty impressive pick-and-roll playmaking. For RJ, the secret to keeping his numbers up while giving up some usage to Ingram will be improving his rim finishing and his free throw shooting. Barrett has always had the physical tools, but in New York, he was often stuck between roles. In Toronto, he's been thriving offensively in Coach Darko's system and should be able to settle nicely into his projected role as the third option. He's been attacking closeouts, crashing the glass, and getting downhill with confidence. If he can continue to punish shifted defenses and play off of Scottie and BI's gravity, I can pretty confidently say he will be hovering around that 25-5 threshold once again. The Raptors don't need RJ to be a number 1 guy. They need him to be a steady secondary or tertiary option who scores opportunistically, fights for rebounds, and moves the ball. As of right now, he's doing exactly that. If I were to predict any stat that might drop below the threshold for RJ, I would say assists, as he is likely getting less playmaking reps with the new additions to the roster and a healthy Emmanuel quickly. Finally, we have Brandon Ingram. Unlike Barnes and Barrett, Ingram is a perennial 25-5 player, surpassing that threshold 5 years in a row. In fact, last season he averaged 22 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 5.2 assists on 46% from the field and 37% from 3. That's right in line with his career averages, and despite coming back from multiple injuries, he's been one of the most consistent all-around forwards in the NBA for years. Something that's underrated about Ingram is his adaptability. He can be a go-to scorer, pulling up in the mid-range, hitting threes and attacking off the dribble, but he can also function as a secondary playmaker. He's been efficient at creating his own shots, and in the Raptors' pass-heavy offense, he will likely get some of the easiest looks he's had in his entire career. I expect Brandon to easily hit the 25-5 threshold once again, and would not be surprised if he had a career high in points and assists this season. Now the big question, can they all do it at the same time? The numbers say yes. Scottie is already just a fraction away, Barrett is already there, and Ingram is a lock. What it comes down to will be usage and touches. Last season, Barnes averaged nearly 70 touches per game, Ingram around 60, and Barrett about 55. That's a lot of ball handling, but the Raptors offense is built for that. Coach Darko emphasizes ball movement, pace, and versatility. They were already a top 10 team in pace last year, which means more possessions and more box score opportunities. In other words, there's enough ball to go around for the trio. It would likely come at a sacrifice for Jakob Poeltl and Emmanuel quickly, so who gets prioritized in the offense will likely be the deciding factor of whether the Raptors can put together a history-making season. The strength of having 3 25-5 guys is that defenses can't just load up on one player. If you collapse on Scottie, Ingram will punish you. If you overplay Ingram, RJ is right there to slash to the rim. That's exactly the kind of dynamic you need for 3 players to hit a 25-5 in the same season. Ultimately, all 3 of these guys are already in the 25-5 neighborhood. Barrett hit it this year, Ingram hit it this year, and Barnes is just a step away. If his efficiency improves even slightly, and if Toronto's system keeps humming, we could see something that no NBA team has ever done. And for the Raptors, it's not just about those numbers, it's about an identity. This trio can be versatile, balanced, and unpredictable. They may not be favorites to win the East, but if they can pull off this statistical milestone, it will no doubt translate to a lot of wins and force the rest of the league to pay attention. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for weekly NBA and Raptors deep dive content. The season is approaching fast and you won't want to miss what I have planned. Follow me on all socials as @RaptorsShack. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.